Come on
Words of
in.
the song ask a question and it says, is there any hope?
This song is a very old song. This song is by James Cleveland, the quintessential king of gospel music in the last century. But the song is pertinent. Come on in, y'all. Again, that's for those of you who want to play it again sometime. That's called Tomorrow by James Cleveland. Is there any hope for love? Is there any hope for peace? What's the world going to be like? What's it going to be like? Well, my Lord. Hey, come on in, y'all. Come on in. My Lord. What's it gonna be like tomorrow? Will we be able to sit together at the welcome table? Will we have peace of mind? And will the nation be good and kind? And will we ever learn how to live together? Man and woman, boy and girl, black and white, next door to each other. Learn how to treat every man like a brother. I said, now will it ever come, my Lord? Will it ever come? Tell me. Will it ever come? About tomorrow. Thank you, Jesus. No. Let me tell you something. If we don't ever get together down here, well, it'll be sad. Hey Doc, how you doing? But thank God I'm not worried about that anymore. No. He said, 'cause one of these mornings it won't be long. You're gonna look for Leonard and he'll be gone. I'm going up to heaven, gonna sing and shout, and nobody there is gonna put me out. And look up David in the heat of the day, tell him to grab his harp and begin to play. I know my road is gonna fit me well, 'cause I tried it on when I was on my way. Hey, look at him. Hey, Henrietta, how you doing with your street strolling self, just going to Atlanta and back because you feel like it? Amen. Hey, Anna Davis, the indomitable lady A from WTLD FM 90.5. Shout outs to y'all on the radio station WTLD, WSLT, WKVQ, and all of my brothers in bonds over at FCI Jessup and at Houston County Correctional Institution who listen to us, and we thank God with you for your faithfulness in doing so. Thank God for you, and especially you, all of you here this evening. And God's been good to us, and we trust He's going to be good through us. If you want to participate in this discussion, you may call 912-695-7169. We'll put you live on air with us. Amen. Trying to get my phone and everything set up like it's supposed to be. I'll be working, y'all. I'm over here, hard working man, trying to get stuff done. Praise God. Amen. Thank God for you. Yes. We are blessed. We are blessed. We are blessed. Let me see. These comments are not coming through. Let me see what's going on. I'll go send that. Okay, to make sure I'm trying to come through with as best I can. Amen. Good evening, good evening, good evening. I just did that TT to make sure that I was talking to myself. And we thank God for each and every one of you. As I have said, the Lord has been blessing us. And okay, that's it. We got some showing up now on my other instrument. We want to we're going to be talking tonight. First of all, I'm getting, and I saw this on TV a few minutes ago. I was listening to the commentators on CNN, and there's a strange thing that happens in dealing with African Americans, and I've seen this over and over. We are in a what I would call a psychological desert, and the reason I call it that is because we are not producing any original ideas. We're simply, I mean very few, but we're simply absorbing information and opinions and things of that nature. So back in 2015, when the Russians wanted Donald Trump to win, and he ultimately did by the skinny 43,000 votes out of more than 150 million votes. I want to say that again. That's how many votes actually turned that election, because the election actually turned in 6 states, and the cumulative amount of votes that won Trump the presidency, even though he lost the popular vote to Hillary Clinton, was 43,000 votes. At 43,000 out of more than 150 million votes had voted the other way. Matter of fact, it actually don't take the 43,000. It would have only taken 22,000 people to vote the other way, because that would have been enough to turn the tide the other way. Now, so what are you saying, Pastor? What I'm saying is your vote counts. That's the first thing. And a lot of times that's the message that we get, is that our votes don't count. Our votes count. They really count. And the reason you know they count is because in their efforts to get Trump elected, their main tool was to discourage us from doing what? Voting. Why are you hearing so many things about the Voting Rights Act? Because they don't want, particularly African Americans in particular, but minorities in general, are people who are more democratic overall. But the real target now, and this is not paranoia. This is not what you call it, conspiracy theory. The real target is African Americans, to try to discourage us by saying our votes either don't count or that we have nothing to vote for. Okay? We won't be affected one way or the other. The two parties are the same. That's a lie. Okay? That's a lie. Even if you're thinking Biden didn't do everything he could have done for us. Okay? Why would you then decide, I'm not going to vote and give Trump a chance to go back in when he's already proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that he cares zero for us, that he holds us in disdain, that he is a racist, and that his policies has malaffected us. Under his appointments to the Supreme Court, the Voting Rights Act, which protected gerrymandering and things of that nature in Georgia, South Carolina, Alabama, Mississippi, Florida, and other places that were famous for it and still do it to this day. What little protection we had, they made sure, Trump and his group, the Republicans, made sure that that protection went away, and it did. Of the city of Mississippi, Shelby, versus the United States, the state of Mississippi promised that there wouldn't be any real changes. As a result of it, we'd still be going along to. And the week after the ruling, 7 days after the ruling, the legislature was in session, voted, the governor signed the most radical voter restriction rules ever. Promising the Supreme Court 1 week, passing the legislation they promised they wouldn't the very next week. There is a difference between the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. Now, I'm first of all a Christian, so are there things that I don't see eye to eye with the Democratic Party? Of course. I don't agree with same-sex marriage. I don't. And then that's not the only thing, but I want to just throw that at least one thing out quickly. But one of the things that I've recognized in my life is you're not going to get everything you want, and you're not going to always have your way. And that's just the way it is. But I'm not going to allow myself the luxury of throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I'm not going to allow myself to the luxury of allowing myself to think that I'm going to get rid of the good if I don't have the perfect. So I was in a conversation recently with a young friend of mine, and she was adamant, I'm not voting for Biden. I'm just not. I said, so who you gonna do? What you gonna do? You gonna vote for Trump? No, I ain't vote for him either. I said, do you realize that if you don't vote for Biden, that's a vote for Trump? Because that's one less vote Trump has to get if you don't vote for Biden. And we're down to a binary choice. We'll either have Donald Trump for president or Joe Biden. More than likely, that's where we're at. We're going to either have Donald J. Trump or Joe Biden. That's it. And Trump has already showed you who he is. He's been showing us who he is. And let me tell you something, make sure you understand. The reason the people who are with him and can't be shaken is not because he's worthy in their eyes. The man just got a ruling yesterday. He just got a ruling yesterday pertaining to the fact that he sexually assaulted a woman. That's not presidential material. And then he's so foolish after he got a $5 million verdict against him for defaming the woman, he kept talking. And so yesterday they gave him another 83, gave her another $83 million award, and he's getting up and walking out the courtroom and stuff while the lawyers are talking. You know, spoiled brat behavior. And you're going to put him in charge of nuclear weapons? This man is. So, my job is to warn us. My job is to warn us. Hey, sweetheart, how you doing? We thank God for you. That's Adrian's good friend. Bless their heart. Stephanie Burnett says that's an insult to bratish brats. Well, yeah. Well, anyway, you're right to that extent. But here's where the danger is. There's a new, relatively new, player on the block. There's a new facet, a new thing we got to watch out for. It's called artificial intelligence. There is this thing that artificial intelligence has the capacity to have someone record this program and get my voice track off of this program and turn that track into a commercial supporting Donald Trump for president that sounds exactly like it came out of my mouth. It'll sound exactly, my mother, my church members, my wife would not be able to tell the difference based on the voice. My children couldn't tell the difference. It is important that you understand that we are living in a dangerous time. This is very much like the precursor to Adolf Hitler coming to power. This is very much like it in America, just like Adolf Hitler did in Germany. Adolf Hitler came out of being incarcerated, went to jail to become the Fuhrer. Most people don't realize how bad Nazism infiltrated the United States. In 1939, before the war, Nazis had a convention in Madison Square Garden. In America, New York City. I'm trying to pull it up, see if I can get it for you, since I just thought about it. So that 1939 Nazi rally at Madison Square Garden took place on February 20th, 1939. That's right. That actually happened. You can't get around the facts. You cannot get around the facts. Now, it's hard to pull the actual footage up, but at some point in time, I'm going to show it to you. That's right, you can no longer trust your own eyes nor ears. You got to be careful. You got to educate yourself. You got to make sure you know. So when I was talking to a local person who's very involved, Trump ain't done nothing for you. He promised us he was gonna forgive our student loans, and I still can't get any relief from my student loans. Actually, you can. That's what she told me. She didn't realize. I gotta go get something. I gotta go get something. So, okay. Actually, Biden did execute and empower student loan forgiveness. Now, what you heard on the news, and this is where you get this information, what you heard on the news was that his proposal, the large proposal he had, the big proposal he had, was shot down by the Supreme Court because that would have included student loans across the board. Okay, so he shot it down. But what you didn't hear was by executive order, President Biden still passed student loan forgiveness. What? Okay. The fact of the matter is $137 billion, which would affect 3.7 million people who can qualify under this. 137, and some of those people who can qualify may very well be you. Well, who can qualify for student loan forgiveness now? I'm glad you asked. If you're a school teacher, if you're a government employee, watch this. If you work for a nonprofit, that is, if you're working for EOA, if you're working for Greenbrier, if you're working for a college, those are all nonprofits. If you're working for SCAD, that's a nonprofit. If you're a nurse, a doctor, or other medical professional, CNA, LPN, if you have a disability, if you're getting SSI, you can get your student loans forgiven. All of these people, if you're a parent who borrowed the money, you can get your loan discharged. If you borrowed money under the federal Perkins loan bill, you can get your loan discharged. That means it's gone. If you've declared bankruptcy, $137 billion are still available, and 3.7 million people still qualify. Now, that's not everybody. 3.7 is only about 7% of the population, but for all those categories I named, because Biden did what he could in the face of Republicans not wanting him to do it. One of the schools, Stephanie Burnett says, all of my student loans went away. One of the schools I attended was predatory. Now listen to what she said. That is one of the, look at this category. This is the paper I was reading off. If your school is closed, if your school misled you. Okay. That means you had a no good school. If you're a federal Perkins loan borrower, if you're a parent borrower, if you were a victim of forgery, if you declared bankruptcy, it'll go away if you die, which you're not going to be able to pay it anyway. But I'm just telling you. So a lot of us are being deceived. Well, it ain't going to make no difference who's up there. It ain't going to do us no good. That's not true. Joe Biden said he would appoint, if he won the nomination, an African American woman for his running mate. He did that. He did that. And then he appointed the first black woman. And actually, with Clarence Thomas up there, we needed her bad, to the Supreme Court. We need to understand that just the fact that she's sitting there will shape arguments concerning us. She's carrying our water. I've read the transcripts of some of the arguments at the Supreme Court, and she is doing what we expected her to do, while Clarence Thomas is doing the exact opposite of those who even went to his confirmation hearings. And I say, one of the things about being involved in civil rights for a long time, you remember, and I remember Deanie Frazier and Chester Dunham and so many others with the longshoremen's getting buses together to go up to support Clarence Thomas as our homeboy from Pinpoint, Georgia. We're going up there. We're going to stand with the brother. Man. Shoot. What a mistake. What a mistake. Hey, Dr. Hall, God bless you. But I'm saying to you and especially you right now, we're in trouble because we're listening to people. And I'm hearing young black people, because we're desperate to be distinctive. We're desperate to be different. We're desperate to be contrary. That's why we wear our pants off our butts, which is inconvenient all day long. You're pulling up on your britches to keep them from falling on the ground. You got to make special arrangements around your pants to keep them up all day long. You aggravate yourself to get attention. To get attention. That's all it's for. It's like a woman having 2.5 inch long fingernails, 2 inch long fingernails. Absolutely inconvenient. All day, every day. There's so many things you can't do. I would go into details, but it's a bit salacious. That long fingernails would make very awkward. But you're so big, you're so desperate to have. Ooh, child, I don't see how you do them. And that's when you got your money worth. As soon as somebody say that, because we're desperate for attention. So we're always trying to say off-brand things, trying to do off-color things, cursing loud all the time, raising all kind of saying all kind of unreasonable things, even from the pulpit, things that have zero to do with the Bible or salvation. We are in that time when people crave almost addictively to be especially recognized. Make sure you understand we have a choice. It's coming up. And talk to your friends. Young people, register to vote. It is important. The Republican Party has no moral standing anymore. How can you fight? Let us look at this very carefully. How can you fight for the unborn? How can you say you pro-life and have absolutely no problem with the fact that Israel is bombing and have killed thousands, more than 10,000 babies and children in the last 2 months? Are we? Now you breaking your back, busting your head wide open. I mean, marching, screaming, and shouting, and changing all the rules, saying you got a right, that there's a right to life, that you an unborn baby is important, but these already born Palestinian babies have no value. And yes, you are right. They went over there and did that little massacre, and not no, I don't want to minimize it, and massacred about 1,000, 1,200 innocent people. But responses should be measured, and they should be commensurate with harm. You don't end up killing 26,000 people, including 8 to 10 times the babies as the other side did. And what you killing them with? Cluster bombs. Where you get them from? America. Duh. The bombs and the guns and the bullets and the missiles and things that they're shooting at Hamas is ours. They get them from us. It's called foreign aid. They're not buying them. We're supplying them. Oh, you didn't know that. But the Republicans, trust me, that's their agenda. They used to be for, the Republicans used to be for fighting for democracy everywhere. They started the war in Iraq. The Republicans went over there and started fighting in Afghanistan, talking about they was defending democracy around the world. Then now it comes to Ukraine, and they're saying like we're not gonna give them any more. You know what that means? That means that we started supporting somebody, and they got halfway through a fight, and we decided we're not gonna fight. We're not gonna help them anymore. We're gonna let Putin, who's now stuck, he is stuck in Ukraine, can't move any further. If we don't, even if we don't help the Ukrainians, Putin can't move any further. He's out of money and out of people. But they dug in. And they're hoping that Trump gets in. And then they could gear up and see if they can overrun Ukraine and increase the dictatorial posture of Vladimir Putin. But we cannot afford. We cannot afford. Hey, Julius, my friend. Julius Hall is on with us this evening. Julius Hall, and we thank God for, and we thank God for ATR and our black media airing these programs. People are contacting us from all over and all around the world. We're gearing up right now on our TikTok pages and Reels pages and sharing the story about the weeping time. We're sharing the fact that we're in court suing the city of Brunswick for the fact that they have told us that we have to shut down and shut us down our efforts to help homeless people in a church in Brunswick. The same thing has happened in Ohio. They arrested a pastor and charged him with 18 counts of helping homeless people in his church. They arrested him. He's in court. They threatened to arrest me in Brunswick. But then when I came outside and got ready to let them arrest me again, put my hands out so they could handcuff me, they changed their mind. They wrote up some tickets. And they kept those tickets and those court dates. They kept just delaying them, and then a couple of months ago they dropped them. So I never did go to court for some of the things, but they filed suit against us, and the judge has ruled on a temporary order to close us, and we have had to close. And last week, during them cold, did I say cold days, we were running around trying to see who all we can help. We know of one or two of those people who we were trying to help back then that slept outside on those cold nights. It's facts. Those are facts. In America, the city of Brunswick receives community development block grants, and they include the fact that they have a homeless population in their application for those federal funds, and then don't use the federal fund to help the homeless. We got them in court. They're gonna answer. At a given time, they're gonna give us some answers. They're gonna give us some answers for that foolishness. Don't let nobody trick you. And we're gonna make sure, again, that they pay. I cannot overemphasize this. The black community is being discouraged from voting in this coming election. How could we, and I've said this and I'm saying it again, I remember a few years ago, Biden said, I can't see how, to something to the effect, I can't see how any black person would not vote for me in this race. What is that? Black folks got upset. But let me say, I can't see how anybody black can vote against Biden or not vote when Trump is his opponent. Donald Trump, years and decades ago, showed his racism when him and his father were sued because of segregating their rental properties. They would not rent to black people. They got successfully sued and had to pay for not renting any of their properties to black people. Then, again, decades ago, there was a white woman killed in Central Park. You know what they do? They just run around, they round up the first 4 or 5 little black boys they saw, They arrested him, charged him, tried him, put him in prison. During the time of the trial, Donald Trump paid to run full-page ads in the newspaper, really asking for them to get the death penalty. Decades later, it was found out that these were not the people who killed a lady. They were completely exonerated and released from prison, having served decades in prison. When we finally elected our first African American president, our first president with any blackness in him, Barack Hussein Obama, as he was being elected, and the entire, even after he was elected, Donald Trump kept trying to prove that he was not worthy to be elected to the presidency because he was born in Kenya. He wasn't born in America. Even after he produced his birth certificate, even after it was proven, he still kept saying it. He called the nations of African nativity, and I don't even like to allude to curse words, but he called them S-hole nations. S standing for the word for feces. That means all of Africa. Every place where black people came from. And some of you are saying, well, I prefer Trump because he talks straight and he's strong. He's a racist. He is strongly racist. He is emphatically racist. Those people who supported him, who went into the Capitol, went in with Confederate flags. They erected a noose on Capitol property. They were going to figure out if they could find a way to hang the Vice President of the United States of America. And had they found him, there was no amount of police control on that site that would have stopped them from killing that man. They were less than 100 yards away from him at a given time. They just didn't know where he was in the building. Let me make sure you understand. If he did all that prior to becoming the president and became the president anyway, what do you think he's going to do if he gets the presidency again? Do you think just because we have term limits, do you think at the end of this next 4 years, he's going to peacefully step down? If you believe that, you haven't been paying attention. There are no rules that Trump feels like he needs to obey. The man left the White House with boxes and boxes of classified secret documents, strategies, list of people who are undercover in foreign nations, human assets around the world. And then when he talked about it after he was caught, he said these are his papers. The only place I see right now that's more accepting of fools being in charge, I know you might not like this, but I gotta drop it on your heart, drop it on top of your head, from way up high. The only organization that tolerates fools worse than America is the church. We have become inculcated at this juncture with a society that has no standards. This is an observation I heard from Pastor um, Ricardo Manuel the other day. Problem is we have no standards. Homosexuals married to other men, homosexual males married to men, can be pastors. Drunks, liars, drug addicts, caught, can still be preaching, and people are amening them. One man the other day who was exposed by his homosexual compatriot as a pastor was back up preaching the other day. I mean, the question used to be, well, who's gonna follow you? Now it's been answered. A lot of people. Who's going to go to the church where they were walking it out, or whatever they call it, in church with Bishop Murphy, where they were actually having a nightclub experience, watch night service in church? Have we just lost every standard? I mean, every standard? Are there absolutely no rules? Is there absolutely no shame? Is there no one to call questions? It is the great delusion, and this is a great delusion, and it comes in two parts. One, first part, you can't judge anyone. You have to. The term "judge not that ye be not judged" is taken completely out of context, saying that means you can't judge anybody. That's not what it says. That's not what it's saying. Read it in context. It's basically saying be careful. Don't judge, because then people are going to have to judge you. Don't judge people more strictly than you would be judged. He said, "Judge not that you be not judged, for with whatever measure you judge, you shall be judged." That's the context. In other words, be careful not to set a standard that's above reasonability. And therefore, I know if you're drunk, you have no business being a pastor. If you use profanity as a routine part of your communication, you have no business pastoring anybody. You're going to hell, and if you don't change, and you're taking folks to hell if they don't change. But we've become inculcated with this idea that anything goes, that anything's all right. And we were not those people. We had rules. We had leaders. We had standards. We actually tried to do what was right. And we would actually call wrong wrong. Now. Preacher caught here in Savannah the other day for drugs and drunkenness for the second time. And basically came to church, and the staff people told the church basically, and I'm counseling some of the folks. That's the only reason I know what I'm talking about. Basically said, well, everybody's done something wrong. And because pastor has visited you when you were sick and seen about your family and prayed for you, he stuck by you, not stick by him. And he's going to lead you. He's going to still be leading you. And he's not said one time that he's repenting. Said he went and got some help. That's a mess. Church is suffering, the nation is suffering because we have no rules. And we have lies that we bought. Lies that have nothing to do with the Bible. The lie that God's love is unconditional. That's a lie. God's love is conditioned. They're called commandments. You don't do right, he's going to set you on fire and then throw you in a lake of fire. Jesus tells a parable of a circumstance. And folks are going to approach him in glory and say, we did all these things in your name. And he's going to say, depart from me, ye workers of iniquity. I never knew you. In other words, I have nothing to do with you. We've got to realign ourselves with the truth. The truth is, and I'm saying this emphatically, we've been set back 50 years or more from the time Clarence Thomas sat down on the Supreme Court. We've been set back another 50, maybe as much as 100 years, because Donald J. Trump appointed 3 people to the Supreme Court. And it is a question right now as to whether they will say concerning Donald J. Trump that no matter what he did or what he might do as president, he's absolutely immune as long as he's the president. There is a possibility that they'll say that. And then he'll get elected, and he will be able, if he wants to do what he has surmised. He'll be able to kill people with impunity because he'll have absolute immunity no matter what he does as long as he holds the office of president. Now, I understand you want to be different. I understand you want to go against the tide. But we don't have time for your ignorant predilections. We don't have time for your fantastical suppositions. We don't have time for your wayward meandering. In times like these, we need rock solid, steady hands directing the ship and circumstance for our children's future. One of my great joys, one of the things that give me pleasure, I love my children. I love having family. I love being daddy. My daughter, Robin, brought me this bracelet with daddy on it. I love being daddy. I love being granddaddy. But I have another level of joy. I have my first great grandchild. His name is Cannon Anderson. And we get to keep Cannon some days here at my house. And we've developed a little thing where she'll get him and bring him in. I don't like kids. I don't like keeping kids. I love them, but I'm not the babysitter type. I can deal with convicts, killers, and murderers, and drug addicts, and pimps, and pushers. And I can deal with that. The babies, I don't know. There's something inside me make that hard. But she bring me Cannon. And I lay Cannon either on my chest or in the crook of my leg so I could look at his face. And I curl myself around in the bed. And I just watch him. And I don't want my great grandson to be fighting these same battles. Some of you saying, well, no, Pastor, things will be better by then. I started doing this civil rights struggle for human equity and dignity thing when I was 10 years old. And, and one of the mantras that kept being repeated over and over was, everything takes time. Be patient. Dr. King even had a little speech. And he said, how long? Not long. Over and over about what would happen and how long it would take for us to get things done. How long? Not long. But he's been dead almost 60 years. And we're still fighting the same stuff. With 7 blacks and 2 whites on city council in Savannah. We got to fight. We have to take our city to court to get them to save the site of the single largest sale of slaves in American history that's been documented. We've got to fight to keep ourselves from being displaced from our communities where we've lived and our generations have lived and are being displaced by economic resegregation called gentrification, insultingly. We've got to fight to maintain our status, even as citizens. We've got to fight to make sure our children have reasonable schools and are not treated as second-class citizens in those schools. To this day, plans and plots are in place in Savannah where my childhood friends, the Stells, were the named parties in the suit 60-some years ago. Well, more than 50-some years ago. To integrate our schools. The case was called Stell versus Board of Education. We're still fighting because Robbie Robinson's name was listed among the lawyers in that case. He received a pipe bomb on Abercorn Street here in Savannah and was assassinated, blown up in his law office on a given evening when I was in the street when they brought him out. They said, how long? Not long, but not long seems long. And we do not have the luxury to enjoy the predilection of those who don't know how to wear their pants and don't understand a man was made for a woman and a woman for a man. We do not have the luxury of tolerating a culture that thinks marijuana is harmless and getting all you can, canning all you get, and then sitting on the can is a reasonable posture for those who say they care about a community. We do not have the time, nor should we have the predilection, the choice, the prerogative that would make us not care about tomorrow, the next generation. Little Cannon Anderson 12 pounds worth of potential, who was cut in the cradle of his great-granddaddy's love. And while I'm getting weaker and older, he's gaining strength. And I do not want him to spend his time in life or his strength doing what I've been doing. I want him to have better choices and do bigger things. I want him to live in a fairer society, in a more equitable world, in a political environment that's of, by, and for the people like they promised it would be. As we close, I just want to thank you for your indulgence. Thank you for taking time to listen to us. Join us on the wall of justice, for up here we do a good work. Join us in our fights and struggles as we try to make this a more perfect nation. God bless you and God keep you is our prayer. We'll be on the same platform tomorrow at 10 o'clock with our Sunday school from the Litway Missionary Baptist Church. We're located at 2335 Shell Road, and we just want all of you to know. I do want to give you a bit of information. Just come to me. This is spiritual stuff. Many people are not baptized. And even if you're not in church and you've wanted to be baptized. You wanted to. You don't necessarily want to join a church, but you wanted to make that spiritual statement. You do not have to join Litway Missionary Baptist Church to be baptized. That's not Bible. John the Baptist wasn't starting a congregation. So, if you want to be baptized, you can look me up on Facebook or direct message this page, Unity Political Action Committee, or you can direct message me on either of my pages, simply my name, Leonard Small, and we can arrange for you to be baptized either in a regular service or privately. And that's for everybody and anybody, even if you are still struggling spiritually with anything. Homosexuality, drunkenness, lying, cussing, whatever. Come to the water. Come to the water. It'll give you strength for your journey and patience for your race. Thank you. God bless you. God keep you, as always, our prayer. Again, we'll be on tomorrow morning at about 10 o'clock for our Sunday school and about 11:15 to 11:30 for our regular morning worship service. You can join us in person at 2335 Shell Road in Savannah, Georgia. God bless. Litway Baptist Church.